Hello boys and girls, welcome to INKids TV. I hope you're excited for an awesome episode today. We have some worship, we've got a story and some craft. So have fun!
Guess what? God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Guess what? God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Guess what? God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Da 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 da. When you're sad, God loves you and He wants to be your friend. When you're happy, God loves you and He wants to be your friend. When you're scared, God loves you and He wants to be your friend. When you're silly, God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Da 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 da. Guess what? God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Guess what? God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Guess what? God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Da 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 da. When you're sad, God loves you and He wants to be your friend. When you're happy, God loves you and He wants to be your friend. When you're scared, God loves you and He wants to be your friend. When you're silly, God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Da 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 da. Guess what? God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Guess what? God loves you and He wants to be your friend. Guess what? God loves you and He wants to be your friend.
Hi boys and girls, my name is Christina and I'm going to read you a story today called Basil the Branch by Andrew McDonough. Once there was a beautiful grapevine. Have you ever seen a grapevine before? And on that vine lived a branch named Basil. One day Basil started thinking, here I am, a branch on a grapevine, but look at me, no grapes. Oh, that would make me worry too. So Basil took a deep breath, wiggled his shoulders up and down. Can you wiggle your shoulders up and down? Focused all his energy on the end of his stalk and strained with all his might. Puff, puff, puff. Goodness, he's working very hard there. Basil opened his eyes, looked down at the end of his stalk and saw nothing. But Basil was not one to let things get him down. Obviously, I didn't try hard enough. If I try harder, if I work longer, I will produce a bunch of grapes. So Basil took 2 deep breaths, wiggled his shoulders up and down, forwards and backwards, focused all his energy on the end of his stalk and strained with all his might. Puff, puff, puff. Basil opened his eyes, looked down at the end of his stalk and saw nothing, not a single grape. But Basil refused to let things get him down. Obviously, I didn't try hard enough. If I try harder, if I work longer, I will produce a bunch of grapes. So Basil took 3 deep breaths. Can you take 3 deep breaths? Wiggled his shoulders up and down, forwards and backwards, and side to side. He clenched his teeth, focused all his energy on the end of his stalk, and strained with all his might. Puff, 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 pant, puff, puff, big puff. Whew. Do you think he got some grapes this time? Basil opened his eyes, looked down at the end of his stalk and saw nothing. Not even a sultana. Basil was down. Obviously, I didn't try hard enough. If only I'd tried harder, if only I'd worked longer, I would have produced a bunch of grapes. Poor Basil. Maybe there's a different solution. "Hi, Basil," said a voice. Basil looked over his shoulder to see who was interrupting his moment of despair. "Who are you?" asked Basil. "I am the vine," said the vine, "and you are the branch. You can't produce grapes on your own. Stop straining and just stick with me." So Basil took a deep breath, wiggled his shoulders, and focused on the vine. When summer came, there on the end of his stalk was a beautiful bunch of grapes. That was a bit of a fun story about Basil the Branch. You know, the Bible teaches us that we can have lots of good fruit in our lives too. Not the fruit that we eat from the fruit bowl at home, but fruit like love and joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. Now, all of those things are really awesome, but sometimes they're hard to do all at the same time. And I know that sometimes I can have lots and lots of joy on one day, but sometimes I'm not always very patient. So I need to focus on Jesus to help me produce those good fruits in my life. You see, in the story, Basil is like you and me, and the vine is Jesus. And Basil couldn't produce that fruit all by himself. He tried as hard as he could, but he just couldn't do it by himself. And you know, we need to be friends with Jesus, and we need to be sticking by Jesus to help us to produce those good fruits in our life. Because without him, it's really, really hard to be loving and to be kind and to have joy. And that's the great thing about being friends with Jesus, is that he helps us to have all of those good things in our life, and we can just be awesome and amazing kids for him. So if you want to today, you can ask Jesus to be your friend, and you can ask him to help you to produce all those wonderful good fruits in your life. Maybe ask Mum and Dad to read you that verse in the Bible from Galatians about the fruits of the Spirit, and see if you can try and practice one of those fruits this week for you and your family. Have a great week, boys and girls.
Hi amazing kids, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kelly, and for this week's craft we are going to do 9 different types of fruit, or to resemble the different types of fruit of the Spirit. I hope you enjoy this craft. Let's get creative. There's lots of cutting out for this activity, so you might need an adult to help speed up the process and make it a little bit easier for you. Make sure you have printed 5 sheets of the same, and carefully cut out every single picture. You should have 5 cutouts of every picture. Once you have cut them all out, carefully fold each picture in half like this, Do it to all the pictures and then we'll move on to the next step. Once you have all your folded pieces, glue one side and then you'll stick it to another piece and then glue that side. Then you'll stick your next piece on and keep going until the whole piece of fruit is done. It will look like this when you're done. Do that with all your other pieces of fruit. And when they are all done, it is time to grab the brown stems that you cut out, fold them in half, and glue them together like this. Then glue your brown stems onto the apple, peach, nectarine, and pear, and they will look like this. Colour in 4 of the leaves on the other side, so that way it's green on both sides. And then glue 1 of the leaves onto each of the sticks. Now all our fruit is done. Can you read with me all the different kinds of the fruit of the Spirit? There is kindness, gentleness, patience, goodness, peace, joy, faithfulness, love, and self-control. I really hope you've enjoyed this week's craft and I'll see you next week. Bye!